This is Lora O'Brien from the Morrigan Academy and the Irish Pagan School. And we're here talking about dedication to the Morrigans. So our student Teresa in the Morrigan membership community over at the Morrigan Academy, link below if you want to join, to ask me anything. So Teresa asked, what does it mean to dedicate yourself to the Morrigan? And it's a little bit of a complicated answer, I suppose, but it's very simple as well in many aspects. So dedicating yourself to the Morrigan, who is a figure of immense complexity and power within our Irish mythology. It's a profound path that intertwines the spiritual with the personal, demanding both reverence and introspection. So you absolutely will have to know yourself inside and out if you are considering dedicating to the Morrigan. And if you didn't before, you certainly will after. So the Morrigan is often associated with war, fate, sovereignty, prophecy, and really embodies the multifaceted nature of existence itself, really. Creation, protection, destruction, sovereignty, regeneration between this world and the other world. So dedicating yourself to the Morrigan means to enter into a relationship, a right relationship of deep commitment. And you're committing to all of these forces. You're committing to this broad spectrum and complexity. And acknowledging her influences in the cycles of life and death, seeking to understand the depth of her wisdom. And by her, I'm talking about the Morrigan and her sisters or aspects, because there are Nat Morrinia, the Morrigans. There are multiple queens within this, again, complexity. So we're looking to understand the depths of the wisdom and guidance that is available to us as dedicants of the Morrigan. So the first thing I think to understand is that understanding and respect are going to be paramount to it. So first and foremost, dedication requires a profound respect for the Morrigan and a commitment to understanding her complexities. And it's not easy, folks. I won't lie to you. It's a lot to wrap your head around, especially if you're coming from outside Irish culture or outside a situation where you have deeply and intensely studied the mythology, the history, the psychology even of relationship with deity. So it does involve studying the lore and the myths associated with her, really getting a first-hand knowledge of the actual evidence of her passing through our story cycles, of her imprint that she has left on Irish mythology, because she really has a hand in so many different aspects there, and really trying to develop a nuanced understanding of her stories, her roles, her symbols, all of that, because there's no simple answers here. Next up, you would be dealing with a lot of personal transformation. So dedicating yourself to the Morrigan often, I would say even most often, leads to a journey of personal transformation. She really challenges her followers, her dedicants, to confront their fears, embrace their strength, understand their shadow work. If you think you're working with the Morrigan and you're not doing shadow work, then it's not it. Honestly, it's not it. Shadow work is so integral to any type of relationship with the Morrigan. Doing this personal transformation, committing to it, committing to your own growth, as hard as it's going to be, that is absolutely integral to any relationship with the Morrigan. Then we're dealing with, I suppose, devotion and practices. So devotion can manifest through various practices such as prayer, meditation, offerings, guided journeys, observation of the Irish seasonal festivals, dates, cycles, tying yourself into the culture of the land and the people that the Morrigan was born from, or, gave birth to in some kind of symbiotic relationship herself or themselves. So these practices are not just ritualistic, They are expressions of a living, evolving relationship with this deity, with this Irish goddess, reflecting both gratitude and a desire for guidance in her life, for her strategy to guide you, for her prophecy to guide you, and really tying in with the culture, with the old prayers, the folklore, the whatever we have from the mythology. This is going to be a deep dive of trying to form your own devotional practices to the Morrigan. Now, it doesn't have to be prayer. It doesn't have to be altars. It doesn't have to be, full on daily guided journeys or meditations or anything like that. Those are all very useful parts of it, but it's really going to look very different for everybody. So I just wanted to put it in there that is, again, most often, I'm not talking in absolutes here. I'm giving you the benefit of my experience, of my multiple decades of experience with my personal practice with the Morrigan, but also obviously the hundreds, if not thousands of students that I have led on these journeys as well, that I have facilitated, that have gone through my processes and found their own path, their own relationship, because that's my goal here, is to not to tell you how to do it, but to show you how it has been done and how it has been working and what is important and what's not important, because there's a lot of shit out there and people get very, very confused about the Morrigan. So I really want you to find your own devotional practices in a way that makes sense to you, your life, your situation, your abilities, your level of interest or devotion. All of that is going to be very, very personal. So next up, we would have service and action. And this is a bit of a contentious one because people seem to be very unwilling to understand that this is actually, again, a fundamental part of who and what the Morrigan is as a goddess. So the Morrigan is closely associated with the protection of sovereignty and the enactment of justice and righteousness in the mythology, not specifically through Irish history, but Irish history is very, very much concerned with that. And again, the Morrigan has this symbiotic relationship with Ireland and her people. This is part of the makeup, the fabric of these goddesses. So dedicating yourself to her, to them, can and maybe even should involve acts of service that align with these kind of principles, such as advocating for the vulnerable, engaging in community service. One of the reasons I do these videos is community service, is literally putting myself out there, trying to make my resources, my skills, my experience available for free. Mostly, we do get paid for some stuff, but the vast majority of stuff that we do through the Irish Pagan School, through the Morrigan Academy, is actually completely free. And providing those resources for people is part of our community service, my community service as a priest of the Morrigan. Or, working towards environmental stewardship, protection of the land, protection of the culture, protection of the people, equality, justice, again, anything that kind of fits with that sovereignty side of things, with that right relationship between people, land, culture, history, ancestors, all of that is very, very important to the Morrigan in my experience. And continuing on, what would be next would be warriorship. Now, again, a contentious one. The Morrigan is obviously very much associated with war, with battle, with all of that. So what does warriorship mean then for people who are dedicating themselves to the Morrigan? So not all followers are called to be warriors in a literal sense. You may be, but a literal or a physical sense of warriorship, of physically going out to fight battles, is not necessary for dedication to the Morrigan. Because the concept of warriorship also encompasses the courage to stand up for one's beliefs, to protect the rights of others, to protect what is sacred, to, again, linking back to the enactment of justice, to make sure that not just you, but everybody can face life's challenges with bravery, with integrity, And this aspect of devotion, really involves developing your personal strength, your resilience to whatever level that that you are going to be capable of, right? It's very important that when we talk about warriorship with the Morrigan, that we don't get into ableism territory, Again, not everybody is going to physically get up and go out and fight a battle, but warriorship is also very much about the willingness to fight for what is right. So again, very much linked with the previous point, which was service and action. The warriorship is going to look different for everybody, but is always going to have that protection aspect to it, that fighting for righteousness to it. That again is very tied up with sovereignty for the Morrigan. Then we'd be looking at, I know this is a long list, right? It is not an easy thing to dedicate yourself to the Morrigan. And when we talk about how to dedicate yourself to the Irish goddess Morrigan, it's going to be a long list because it's an involved process and she doesn't do things by halves at all. So we have this continuous learning. So dedication to the Morrigan is a commitment to really lifelong learning, because that's what it's going to take to try and understand the complexities of the Morrigan. So it involves continuously seeking knowledge, not just about the Morrigan herself, but also about the cultural, historic, folklore, spiritual context of Irish paganism and the broader Irish pantheon of gods and goddesses of the Tuatha Dé Danann, the Tuatha Dé Danann would be from the mythological cycle. Then we have the Ulster cycle, where the Morrigan again features heavily, even in towards the Fenian cycle and the cycle of kings. The Morrigan is still showing up through all the story cycles of Irish history, mythology, of the Irish lore and literature. So it's really important that you understand that dedicating to the Morrigan is about this lifelong learning, okay? Then we're dealing with community. So while your path of dedication is going to be deeply personal, we mentioned community service before, and it can also be connected to getting involved with others who share a devotion to the Morrigan, helping, supporting people around you to access quality resources. Now, I'm not talking about stepping up and teaching yourself, especially if you're not native to the culture. You have to be a little bit careful about making sure that you are in right relationship and, not cultural appropriation, that you're in cultural appreciation territory. We do have other videos on the channel about this. So make sure that you are pointing people back to native sources. And I am not just talking about myself. There are so many resources available over at the Morrigan Academy, which are nothing to do with me. They're just valuable resources that I have made sure to put together for people. There's blog posts there. There's blog posts at the Irish Pagan School blog. So you can find the resources on the Morrigan. I also run a Facebook community called the Morrigan's Cave. And again, this community support and engaging with the community, whether online or in person, can provide that support, insights, sense of belonging, sense of tribe, of Tua. And that's really important. However, it is really important as well to approach communities with a discernment and really take care of yourself in this, because what we want is communities and groups that encourage healthy, respectful and informed, especially culturally informed practices. What you don't want is to land yourself into the high priestess Stardust Moon Twinkle Raven's Wing into her coven, who is going to start teaching you a whole lot of crap about the Morrigan being this, loving, wonderful savior, mother figure to you all, who will embrace you in her maiden mother and crone. None of that is right, okay? None of it is okay. None of it is accurate to the Morrigan's lore, to the Morrigan's presence in the realm of Irish culture, Irish spirituality, right? So you want to be a little bit careful about who and what you're getting involved with, okay? So it is good to be a voice of reason if you end up in one of those spaces, and to try and educate people about better source material, better resources, right relationship, all of that good stuff. But just do be careful to protect yourself within those situations as well, because sometimes it's just a lost cause. People don't want to know. Check the comments below here. You're going to get so many people arguing with me about the Morrigan being their mother, or that they love their coven with Lady Sparkle Ravenswing, right? Fine, grand, whatever. None of us want to hear about it. Absolutely none of us. But that is what you're going to be up against. That's what I'm up against all the time. I get a lot of hate by people who really, really, really don't like me telling them that they have work to do, or that their projection and fantasy of the Morrigan is not accurate to, again, Irish culture, Irish mythology, Irish heritage, that symbiotic relationship that Irish people have with this goddess. People really don't like being told that they're entitled shits who are claiming stuff for their own aggrandizement that is not actually accurate or respectful to the Morrigan. So anyway, the final point I'm going to make on this is ethical living. And, we've touched on some of these points already, definitely, or some of the aspects of ethical living that are going to be important. But dedication to the Morrigan encompasses living in a way that reflects the values. Again, learning what those values might be as part of your journey. But some of the values would include integrity, sovereignty, respect for the cycles of life, cultural respect, integration within that cultural the living traditions within Irish culture, in as much as you are able to do so. And just that kind of interconnectedness of life, really. The relationship between this world and the other world, your responsibility for your own personal growth and development. So, in essence, I suppose dedicating yourself to the Morrigan is a path of profound engagement with all of these forces that we've mentioned above, war, fate, prophecy, poetry, magic, and of course, battle. And it is that commitment to personal growth, ethical action, and the pursuit of wisdom, guided by the powerful and transformative energies of this ancient Irish goddess, the Morrigan. So hopefully that has been useful to you. And I really hope that you get a lot out of this video, and that you can kind of develop your own little checklist or action plan of what you would like to do, and where, if you're looking down through this, or listening really to this list, and you are finding that there's perhaps one area where you need to educate yourself further, make sure that you check out the Morrigan Academy resources that are below. You can join the Morrigan membership community. Again, there'll be a link below. You can take the 5-day challenge that's free and sign up for that, and you will be delivered these handy little daily shots over the course of 5 days that will begin your journey or reconnect you in, if you're just coming out of that Lady Sparkle moving moon raven's wings coven, and you're kind of, in recovery from the neo-pagan bullshit, then maybe you need to reconnect in a more authentic way and find your place and find your relationship with the Morrigan again. So try the 5-day challenge and see if it's right for you. And if not, no harm, no foul. Hopefully it's been useful to you. Slán go fóill. This is Lora O'Brien for the Irish Pagan School and the Morrigan Academy. Slán.